But if you look at that, Holiday's in like evaluation from the medical staff and how long he's going to be out for, that's all going to be a massive impact on what we expect early in the postseason and how that translates late into the season. Of course, when you've got Precision P out here just going off on crazy numbers, nearly 50% from deep, 50% from the field, averaging 18 points a game over the last 5 games, 8 assists. I think
I've got the whole stat line right here. I've got it right here for you, Adam. So
let me see if I can do it off the top of my head.
See what you got.
Okay, so 5 games,
last 5
right?
games.
Is that what you've got?
Yeah, last 5 games.
Okay, so 18 points.
Got it.
8 assists.
Got it.
3.7 rebounds.
Yeah, 3.6. Yep.
Okay, 50% from the field.
Nailed it.
48.6% from 3.
Got it.
That's from memory, dude. That's from memory. I'm sorry. I just need to take a moment. Dude's been crushing it, man.
100% from the free throw line. And here's the part that I think is that actually stood out to me when I was looking up Payton Pritchard over these last couple of games. All those numbers are amazing. And he's doing this in 35 minutes per game, which I think is kind of interesting to think about what that would look like if Payton Pritchard was a guy playing 32 to 35 minutes a night, not necessarily for the Celtics, but just in general. But 8 assists, averaging only 1 turnover per game in that time. I think that's the number for me that really jumped out when you think about how much without Holiday, he's had to take on more ball handling responsibilities and less just being a spot up shooter. And to average 8 assists with only 1 turnover in this 5-game stretch, that's very, very impressive from Payton Pritchard. And to the point of maybe not having everybody at all times, this is a great, warm-up run basically for Payton Pritchard if he's going to have to play a lot more maybe in those first or second rounds because maybe Holiday's not at 100%.
Yeah, and with Pritchard, his ability to get into the paint of late and finish in the paint has been great. I got some interesting numbers here. So shot distances less than 5 feet for the entire season. Payton Pritchard, the percentage of those shots that are unassisted, so stuff that Payton Pritchard creates for himself, 65% for the season. Over the last 10 games, it's been at 80%. So Payton Pritchard has been getting into his bag, doing things on his own, and being able to finish at the rim. So I think that's a big step forward for Pritchard. And a lot of this is happening with Jrue Holiday out, increased opportunity, increased results. But I do think with Pritchard, if this is actually something that he can become consistently off the bench for this team, even when Jrue Holiday is on there. So we can even go to him for 20 minutes a game, and then maybe we're able to rest a few guys for a couple extra minutes because right. Pritchard, you don't miss anything with Pritchard. And he also adds things, right? He pushes the pace. He, as Adam likes to call out, he nashes on the baseline. He's getting really good at nashing on the baseline, going under and coming back around, finding cutters off that nash dribble. And I think Pritchard's ability to just feel comfortable around the basket, he's shooting like 75%, something like that.
I think I saw it was like the 91st percentile for guards or something is what he's shooting around the rim. And I love those clips where he just like puts Pat Connaughton in a body bag, right?
Yeah.
Like those are some of the coolest moments with Payton Pritchard. But I'm curious to ask you guys this. I tweeted about this the other day. What
96 percentile, sorry.
96. Look at that. I shortchanged our guy. How dare I? If Payton Pritchard was, it doesn't have to be on the Celtics. I'm just thinking in general, if Payton Pritchard was playing 30 minutes a game, you mentioned, Greg, I don't know how sustainable this is. And obviously he's on a great team right now. So he has amazing teammates. What do you think is a realistic 30, stat line for him in 30 plus minutes per game? If he were to get that opportunity on a team, and I know context is going to matter a lot for this, but what do you think would be like some realistic stats that a guy like Payton Pritchard could put up?
Well, what'd you put out there? Like 15, 6, and 4?
Yeah, something about that was about what I think he could do. I mean, I know early on in his career, I'm not of the belief that he's an all-star level player. Shout out to our girl Noah Dalzell. I know that's been her take, so I'm not gonna step on it here. But I don't know if I'm quite there that I think Payton Pritchard has all-star potential. I've always said I think he could be a Kirk Heinrich type guy, which I know is probably a little bit lazy, white guy to white guy. But I do think in the sense that Kirk Heinrich was, a really good player in this league on some pretty good teams, could shoot the ball, was a scrappy defender. Like I think that's the type of guy that I think could Payton Pritchard be the starter on a really solid playoff team? I think it could be. I really do. So I think that, those 15 points, 6 assists or so, with 3 or 4 rebounds, like I think that's a pretty realistic stat line for a guy like Payton Pritchard, which is crazy that he's our third option and is a guy that, usually plays about 20 minutes per game and doesn't handle the ball nearly as much as we're seeing in this stretch.
The guy I've always compared him to is Fred VanVleet, right? Even back to his rookie year, I thought that Pritchard had a lot of VanVleet in his game. VanVleet has surpassed whatever ceiling you could have ever expected of him coming out of college. Undrafted, exactly. And I think Pritchard, he's showing these flashes pro-MP where you're starting to realize with, as I said, increased opportunity can lead to increased results. I think the limiting factor would be in terms of like what he could average if he were a starter, would be the game planning around Pritchard. Right. I think he would get a lot more of the focus of a game plan versus being the 8th guy off the bench. So I think with Pritchard, last night he had this play where he came into the paint. He was kind of probe dribbling. And then he stopped on 2 feet, shot faked and stepped through and finished off the glass. And it reminded me a lot of Jalen Brunson. And I'm not saying he can be Jalen Brunson, but Payton Pritchard works his ass off. Everyone always talks about how hard Payton Pritchard works and that we're just starting to see the results. He's, there's all those quotes about him being one of the best players in practice all the time. So they're just kind of waiting for it to translate to the game. So last night when he had that move and his ability and the confidence with which he's getting into the paint these days, I think Payton Pritchard could have like the pre-blow up Jalen Brunson. I think he could like start getting to that level where, Payton Pritchard's getting a 4-year contract where, we got him for 30 million. Maybe it would have been 80 million, right. Who knows, where Payton Pritchard could just be like Jalen Brunson 2 years ago, Jalen Brunson 3 years ago, like that type of player. And then who knows, man, we've always said Jaylen Brown, another guy in the Celtics that has always surpassed whatever ceiling we put onto him. Payton Pritchard could be that type of guy because he also has a work ethic.
Do you think that Pritchard has 6 man of the year ceiling? Do you think like potential? Do you think he could get to be a 6 man of the year type guy just because of the scoring he brings off the bench?
So I think not the way this team is currently set up, just because I don't think the minutes are going to be there from production. I think he absolutely has the talent for it. And so as we look ahead to the offseason, right, like there is a Drew Holiday question when it comes to he's going to be eligible for a contract extension coming up here. I think right as the calendar turns to April, that will start to be a topic that we can kind of get into. So, if let's say the Celtics don't bring Holiday back, which, I'm not saying they should do this and then move Payton Pritchard up in the rotation and everything, but if there's more opportunity, I absolutely think he can. So maybe not with the iteration of this team, but down the road, I absolutely think there's no reason that he can't be in, and he's a different player than these guys, but in that Malik Monk style, in that, Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams, like he's not those guys, but I'm just saying as far as being in those 6-man conversations, that could absolutely be a career path for Payton Pritchard.
I was thinking of Jordan Clarkson as well. That's
another guy.
I can hear stuff. Can anyone else hear the clips playing?
Yeah, I don't know if Greg was trying to pull up a clip here.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that the audio is still sharing.
I was like, I think Greg has a point he's about to make here, but I wasn't.
I'm like, shit. Am I losing my mind, dude? I can hear games. We're talking. I'm like, I'm looking around on all my screens. Like,
that Brunson-esque clip from last night, real quick.
Yeah, I think he did it twice, honestly, like towards the end of the game, if that's the same area that you're talking about. I think he has 2 moves that were similar. Yeah, with that step through. I mean, they were towards the end of the game to really ice the game, actually. At least one of them was.
I've been really enjoying watching the lower teams now, I'm like the Celtics games. I'm coming into them like expecting a win. I'm enjoying more watching like the Warriors try and fight to stay in that 10th seed or the Knicks trying to fight to stay out of the play-in. Like those games are so much more enjoyable right now because there's actually stuff on the line. The Celtics games, I just feel like I'm going through the motions with it.
I mean,
I got the PP step through.
Okay, let's go. Let's take a look at it here.
You're a neurologist now.
24 points. Oh, that's 2. Pritchard with the left.
Oh, he got him with a DeMar DeRozan up fake.
That was a nifty maneuver.
That's a sweet move.
Yeah, I mean, does that remind you of like what Brunson's able to do when he gets into the paint? They on the broadcast they mentioned there's a very DeMar DeRozan-esque step through there, and this is something that Pritchard has in his bag, right? He's so fundamentally sound, and so many guys in the league, I think, are learning from a Jalen Brunson and playing off of 2 feet, because you can do so much off of that jump stop in the lane. He could fade off of it. He could step through off of it, get somebody up in the air and get the foul. But this is something that, Pritchard, he works really hard. And I do think that there's another level that he can get to, where we're looking at this contract 2 years from now and being like, wow, Brad Stevens did it again.
Yeah.